now. Right. So once again, good morning everyone, and welcome to today's Landed Project Management TS Intermediate mini courses. Right. So for today's training, we are actually focusing on only for the landed project management. Right. Only for landed project management. If you are having some project for the, for example, for the condominium, for different parcel that we have another mini course is actually um, focusing on that particular project. Yeah. Okay. Right. A little brief introduction of myself. My name is Sam. I'm a service consultant in Broader Malaysia. Right. Previously, I have 7 years of experience. 4 years in infrastructure, especially doing for the underground package for the MRT, line 1 and line 2, and 3 years experience for the building, okay, for the main building, which involving for the Bukit Jalil Pavilion Mall 2, right? So these are some of my introduction, right? As a service consultant in Golden Malaysia, we basically provide training, in-house training, on-site training, okay, online training as what we have today, okay, and also solving the query from the clients, right? Solving the query. If you have any difficulty, you can actually ask us through a platform which is our e-community, right? So these are some of my personal information, my email address, and also the common service team email address, right? If you have any difficulty, any problem, you might contact us through the email as well. Right. So for today's, we are going to focus on 3 chapters, right? So first, it will be the introduction to the landed property, landed project. So what are the different type of the landed project we are currently having? Okay, so we are going to discuss what are the introduction of it, what are the different category we have. Second part, chapter 2 will be our project strategy, right? So for this project strategy, it will be, let's say you are doing a bungalow. What is your project strategy to model it out? Okay, if you're doing the terrace houses, what is your strategy to do it? If you are doing for example, condominium, you have 3 towers and 1 podium, how you can actually strategize it out, right? And the third one, it will be the TS TRB model exchange, right? So they will be, is TS and TRB is actually interoperable. Whether or not you want to start for TS first, you want to start for TRB first, no problem, right? Previously, previous version, okay, in C2 version, currently we're actually in C3 version. C2 version, I will encourage everyone to start for the model in TRB first, right? Due to there are some element when we export to TAS, there are some element is unable to capture, but this bug is actually been fixed, and uh, in C3, okay, onwards, I will recommend everyone to start the model in TAS, and then you can actually export the model to TRB, right? To for the onwards modeling, right? Okay, so without further ado, let's move to the chapter 1, which is our introduction to the landed project, right? So 1.1 is the conceptual idea, right? Why do we need to segregate the landed and also the high-rise if we have, okay, for the project, okay? Why do we need to segregate it, whether is it a landed or a high-rise, okay? Because each type of the landed project, right, they have a different way for the management, okay? When I talk to the management in this sense, it will be the management for the main person, let's say for example, for main QS to start to segregate the workout for the modeling, right? So say you have a high-rise condominium, I believe you will not only have one QS to do it. Maybe you have a QS number 1, number 2, number 3 to do it for the model. Okay, at the end of the day, how we can actually merge it back, right? That will be the scenario, right? So why we will be having this specifically for the landed project properties, okay, to do the modeling for only for this landed project, right? So for example, if you have a terrace houses and also the semi-D, okay, they will be actually need to manage differently because the layout provisions by the architects, okay, the layout it will be kind of different from the architect. For example, semi-D, you will have 2 big pieces. I'm going to explain further later on when we have the explanation later on. And the terrace houses, we have the corner lot, we have the intermediate lot, and we have the end lot. Okay, CIE, what we call, right? So how we can actually do it? How we can actually do the model? Do we need to do the model one by one, right? So we are going to explain it later, right? So for example, like I mentioned just now, we have consists of corner, intermediate, and end lot. Okay, all are the types that are actually similar, but may require some adjustment, right? What are the adjustments we need to make? Say example, you have a shared portion or actually external works, right? Shared portion, it will be, say, if you have a project, let me go to the pane, right? So let's say if you have this, let's say this is your intermediate, and this is a corner, and then you have a intermediate, and then you have a end lot, right? This is your corner, intermediate, and this is your end lot. So what I'm saying is, what are the shared portion? It will be, for example, for one whole piece of wall, okay, it will not like the bungalow, okay, it will be sharing for the corner lot and intermediate lot. So for this portion sharing, what are the things that we actually need to taking care of, okay, later on what we need to do, okay, for this shared portion, right? So when we model it out, okay, there will be the quantity there. Is it a quantity is for this full wall, or is this full wall quantity need to be shared for this corner lot and this intermediate lot, right? So we need to make sure, okay, from a very fundamental concept is what is actually a terrace houses, the structure is actually built, right? So in this case, in this sense, then we are able to break it down and then to determine the share portion, and then you make the amendment on the quantity. If not, your quantity for corner lot, let's say this brick, this wall, let's say you have a 10 meter cube, right? So in your BQ, let's say for the corner lot, you put it 10 meter cube for the wall. For intermediate, you also put 10 meter cube for the wall. So it will be excessive of the quantity, right? Which is not we wanted. And we know that the shared portion is 10 meter cube. What we need is only 5 for the corner and also 5 for the intermediate, right? So this is the concept that I hope I can deliver to you guys on the modeling part and also the quantity extraction part, okay, to deal with this kind of projects, right? Okay, so 1.2, the different types of the landed, right? As I mentioned, we have terrace houses, we have semi-D, townhouse, bungalow, right? Semi-D, townhouse, bungalow, right? So for the type of the landed that they are commonly faced, right? As we know, singular unit, right? So for this singular unit, usually is for bungalow, okay? And the concrete formwork can be quickly be captured, okay? The concrete and formwork, it no need to be shared by others, okay? It's actually a independent singular unit, right? So for the concrete and formwork, for the wall, for the slab, for the foundation, okay, for the external works, it will be only for that particular singular unit. Okay, you don't need to do the caption. Okay, rebar usually calculated in the poundage so that the contractor can do the quick quote for the client's budgeting purposes. Okay, in this sense, um, in TAS, we actually have um, in TAS, in the project setting, we actually have a steel, one moment, yeah, okay, this one, the steel ratio. Okay, so for this steel ratio, it's actually um, a raw value for the steel poundage in order, let's say you get your quantity in concrete, then you times with your steel. Okay, so the calculator it might able to guesstimate based on the BQ produced by the consultants is the quantity is more or less from whatever we're going to tender it, right? So this is only for a very brief taking off for the steel. Okay, if you want to go for the detail rebar, it will be fall under category of TRB, right? Taking off for the rebar only, right? So for the one block, okay, for one block, it's usually like a small development, okay? Don't usually involve a large infrastructural works. It could be a block of terraces or a shop lot, okay? Involve of a corner lot, intermediate, and also the end lot, okay, that I previously discussed. And we have another part is what we call township. Okay, this will be quite popular for the southern side, right? For example, the Bandar Rimbayu, Bandar Sarjana Putra, Gabuda Cove, right? So for those kind of township, it will be a full development. Okay, it's a full development for the developer. Okay, it will be a very large and planned development. It involve our main building works, our landscaping, infrastructure, okay, amenities, guard houses, and sewage treatment plants. Okay, so it will be the whole inclusion for all the elements, right? So this is the differences in terms of the blended properties. We have singular for bungalow. One block, let's say, is the terraces, and the township it will be involving for the maybe you will have those shop lots, terraces. You have the main building, landscaping, infrastructure. Okay, so these are the different types, right? So as you can see from the sketch here, we actually have these terrace houses, okay, and also the townhouses. They will have this corner, intermediate, and also the end lot, right? So from here, okay, later on I'm going to demonstrate to you guys in TAS, so how we can actually get the quantity for this particular type of the terrace houses design, right? So from another part, you will see there's a semi-detached houses. So for the semi-detached houses, there are some part, okay, we need to be making sure of is, okay, the semi-D, the layout not necessarily will be the same. Okay, the semi-D, the layout not necessarily will be the same. As you can see from the left-hand side, the whole diagram. User can actually use the mirror model and modify the landscaping. Okay, basically, if you can see the whole structure of the building, okay, yeah, from here you will see from the whole main building, the structure of the building, right? It's actually quite identical, right? You can actually use the mirror function, okay? You can use the mirror function to mirror it out, okay? And we need to take note that we actually have a shared wall in the middle, right? But there are something which is those in landscaping, okay, external works. You can see for the left-hand side semi-D and the right-hand side semi-D, the patio is actually different, and also the parking and the car porch area also different. So those are the modification. Okay, the most are the modification that I'm talking about. Okay, you need to have a combination of your operation steps. First, you need to mirror it. Second, those are the things that in different, for example, landscaping, you need to modify it accordingly, right? So in this case, you actually save a time. You don't need to model for the left hand side, and you remodel for the right hand side. You can iterate the way use this mirror function. Okay, so this is for the semi-D part of the projects that we can actually use. Okay, so there has another one which is what we call bungalow. Okay, so for the bungalow, we will be very easy because bungalow, everything is only for that particular singular unit. Okay, whatever quantity, whatever model we model out and the quantity generated out, it will be only for that particular bungalow unit. Okay, so it will be quite easy. Okay, it's the most easiest for the landed project to do the model. There will be no share units. No share unit means you no need to divide your quantity by 2 because you don't have any share units. Everything is directly measured based on the layout drawing. Whatever you see, you model it out, and then you will get a quantity. And the quantity no need to divide with others unit because there is no share units, right? There will be no share units. Right. Comes to after the introduction, it comes to the 1.3 TAS and TRB segregation method. Okay, so from here, the segregation method, what we are actually looking at. Okay, so this one is actually a duplication slides already. Apologize. Yeah. So from here, right. So as you can see, let's say for the segregation method, why we need to segregate is because later on when we do our BQ parts, okay, normally we do our DQ cards, okay, we will need to use different kind of the views, okay, different views, for example, end lot, intermediate lot, okay, so we have a different kind of views and also the elements, okay, we can actually use the function in TS or TRB, what we call it as a zoning. Okay, zoning, we can actually segregate out to categorize from the different views, right? So from here, this will come into parts of the zoning. Okay, when we talk about zoning, if not, if we didn't split into zone, if we didn't split into zone, and if I calculate out all the quantities, and then you'll have kind of headache part. Okay, you will see all the elements is actually segregated into that particular floors, right? And then you don't have the ideas, how much is for the end lot, how much is for the intermediate lot, how much is for the corner lot, right? So with that, we will be introducing for the function of this zoning. Okay, the function of zone. Okay, I'm going to explain in detail for the operation later on, right? Right. So from here, if you have a segmented views, okay, if you have a segmented views, then they will be have this subtype views as well, right? So you can see, let's say you use zoning. If you can see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 indication in different color, right? So normally in BQ, you will have, let's say you have a view 1 will be prelim, view 2 will be prime cost, view 3 will be, let's say, residential, view 4 office, view 5, okay, you will see the parking lah, right? Those different kind of view. So from here, you can actually use a zoning. When I say zoning, which is when we're going to create for zoning, I will have a zoning for this part. Okay, this will be for the retail. I will have the zoning for the residential, okay, in purple. So I segregate in different kind of zoning, and then later on when I get the quantity, so I will be quite easy for me to segregate it out for the quantity for this segmented view, right? So the ultimate function for the zoning is you're going to model it, okay? At the end of the day, when we model it, we have a quantity, and the quantity is segregated out based on the zoning that we set. Okay, based on the zoning that we set, and then we can easily take the quantity of it. Say example, if we didn't do any zoning, for example, wall volume, let's say 1000 meter cube, right? And then if you have a bill, you will have a bill for the retail, for residential, for car park. You do not know this 1000 meter cube, okay, how it's actually segregated. Okay, so to cater this problem, we're going to use zoning, meaning to say I will have for my retail, let's say 200. Okay, I have my car park 500. I have my residential 300. So I also will have 1000 meter cube, but in a segregation form. So I can easily to get this 200 is for this particular retail, 500 for the residential, and 300 for the parking, the example, right? So this is the function for the zoning. Okay, so it's another duplicated one. Sorry for that. Right. 1.4. Okay, we know that why we want to segregate it. Right. So what happened if we do not segregate it? Okay, what happened if, okay, we didn't do the segregation part? Right. So you will see there are some of the problem that we might facing. Right. All the subtype quantity will be meshed together. Okay, this will be the very first headache part as a QS, because ultimately what you want is you want a very rapid quantification process, and also the accuracy of the quantity to be plugged into the BQ for whether, for example, you want to call for the quotation, call for tender, or you want to for the estimation purposes, right? So first of all, you will be queue off this possibility, okay? In the sense of you will be taking much more time to segregate it out another time, and then the accuracy of the quantity will be in a very big question marks. Not sure whether is it correct to locate for the corner, intermediate, and end lot, the example, right? So to do this, okay, we need to use this modified associate zone. Okay, you need to do it one by one. Okay, later I'm going to explain to you what is actually meant for this one. okay, modify associate zone, and you can use the remarks function. Okay, you use the remarks function to remarks it as actually a share unit, right? And after segregating with the three method above, okay, you might meet up some certain stuff. Okay, I'm going to explain to you in the model. Okay, let you see in the model what are things that we actually maybe we will be missing out, right? Okay, so there are few types of the segregation we can actually do, right? It will be subtype profile. Okay, it will be C. You has TS and TRB, but in TS and TRB, you will have, for example, corner lot. You have one corner lot for TS, one corner lot for TRB. For intermediate one, you have a TRB and also TS. At the end lot, you also have TS and TRB, right? So if you are using this type of the method to subtype a file, okay, but at the end of the day, you will not be able to get the full complete model, okay, as you want, right? Okay, so this will be a very challenging part, okay, because whenever we want to use this, for example, these are 3D models, measuring tools as TS, TRB, right? What we want at the end of the day is we want to have a full complete of the model, okay, to know that whatever things actually I'm actually measuring for. Okay, if you're using this separate file, you will be surrender the functionality in terms of the view the 3D model for the full development buildings, right? So second type, okay, is your choice whether you want to use this sub profile. No problem at all. The quality will be still very accurate. But whether or not you want to surrender the functionality of the 3D view for the full building, right? So this you might not want to go for this method. Perhaps you can go for another method, which is the second method. Okay, segregation by zone. Okay, by this zone, you have some operation that you might need to be taking care of, right? So that I'm going to explain to you in further for this zone what I'm talking about. So you have the end lot, intermediate, and corner lot. Okay, and also the third will be using the remarks, right? By using the remarks, okay, it will quite not recommended because it will be quite troublesome for each of the every entities. Okay, you're going to put it as a corner lot. Okay, as you can see, this corner. So meaning to say, if you have the whole model from here, you're going to put for the whole model every single entities. Let's say you get 1,000 entities for this particular corner lot. You need to put it 1,000 times for the remarks column, right? This is where we're going to put the remarks for the intermediate. This we're going to put the remarks for the end lot. Okay, it's quite troublesome for that, right? So come into these three methods, you will have a question whether you're actually using what kind of the method to segregate the subtype, right? So comment to me, everyone, if you have this kind of the landed project, okay, for example, these terrace houses, you are currently using by using the remarks, by using the file remarks, or by using the zone, right? So anyone, can you enlighten me if you are using which method for your terrace house development? You are using for this subtype by zone or by remarks, right? Okay, you're using file. Okay, selling, no problem, right? So others, no problem for that. Okay, so you're using file currently. Let us may perhaps I will introduce you another type, okay, which is I'm going to show you guys what are the things that you actually can do in the other way around, right? Okay, so that will be the introduction for the properties that we are having. Okay, so first thing we need to do, what are the things that we need to do? Second, we're going to discuss on our project strategy. Okay, in the project strategy, first there will be the workflow and also the processes of the landed properties. What are the workflow and what are the process for the landed properties, right? So from here, as you can see, very first basic things, whether you are before doing the modeling or you are using the manual method as previously we did. Okay, so the first type Okay, first step is we're going to explore the drawing. Okay, we need to explore the wording drawing, whether is that the project for this particular is a terraces project, what kind of project, and what are the details of the drawing layout is actually indicating, and what are the information is missing out. Meaning to say the explore drawing, you will need to compare, let's say, architecture and also structure drawings. What are the discrepancy if you have any? If you don't have any discrepancy, we're going to moving forward to another part, which is the second steps. Right. First, explore the drawing. Second, you need to identify whether there is any zone or separate file. Okay, so this will be the method, the segregation method just now we discussed. We have three, right? So you need to be identify what are the method you want to use. Okay, first will be by zone, or you want to use it by the separate file. Okay, there are pros and cons for each of the methods. Okay, so for today's, I'm going to highlight on using this zone function, how you can actually use the zone function, right? So explore drawing, identify, use what method. And the third one will be they need to estimate the time of the completion based on this complexity of the drawings, right? So you need to guess, you need to do a guesstimate that what are the, how long is the completion time for you to deal with this set of the drawings, right? This is the third method, third steps. The fourth will be determine what are the software you want to start with, TRB or TAS first, right? As I mentioned previously in C2 version, okay, in TRB, and if you start your model in TAS first, in C2 version, when you start in TAS first, some model, especially beam, when we have upstand beam example, when we save and then we going towards TRB, okay, we export to the TRB, those beam it will be having problems to be exported it out. Okay, there will be a missing beams, right? In this case, for this C3, okay, the problem is being fixed. And then I will recommend everyone to use starting from TAS first and then continue the rebar input for this TRB. Right, so I will recommend everyone to go for the TAS first instead of TRB for the C3 because the problem, there are some of the missing entities problem is being fixed in this C3 version, right? And also, fifth one, you need to do the required project settings accordingly, right? When we say project settings, okay, when we say project setting, this is the project setting that we are talking about. These floor settings, how many floors, okay? So for example, you will have a project that's sharing with um, 2 to 3 QSs to complete the whole model, okay? The very important point is the main QS, he need to do all the setting and all the grading, and then send the whole blank project file, okay, with this full of the settings to the QSs to do the modeling. Okay, meaning to say you need to have a very standardized files, okay, for other QSs to start. Okay, if not, each and every QSs will do it their own. Okay, they have their own later on they have their own access script line. Okay, these are the things that not we want. Okay, so make sure if you want, okay, if you have the segregation works between the QSs, you need to do a project setting accordingly. Project setting involving for the grade settings and also for the access grid line, right? They will be very important. Okay, they will be very important, right? Right. So when moving the modeling, okay, first I will be very focusing on will be the zoning. Okay, there will be this zoning, right? And also, as user, you will need to adjust the drawing a little by using the splitting. Okay, you need to split the drawing. Okay, I'm going to in detail operation step later on. Okay, don't worry, this one will be on the theory part. First, remember when doing the modeling, I will involve for the zoning, and I will involve the operation to split the drawing as well, right? Okay, and then once you have completed a very important part, which is, okay, you need to adjust all the possibility settings and proceed like a normal singular projects. Okay, so they will be have another function is what we call modified associate zone. Okay, modified associate zone, so that your quantity, okay, so that your quantity you will have this information in order. Okay, you have this n naught, intermediate, and corner lot by this zone. Okay, you have the quantity for that. Okay, so you will be able to segregate the quantity for each of the elements, right? So there will be a there will be a the ideal way that what we want. Okay, so what if there is actually a shared structure? So for the shared structure, I would recommend you guys to identify, for example, for this piece of wall, there's actually shed. So in the remarks, we can actually put the sheds here, right? You can actually put the remark for the sheds here, right? And also how we can actually do the duplication and the modification. It will be by using the duplication. Okay, you can use a copy function and modify the associate zone. Okay, this will be the operation involved when we're talking about to segregate the quantity. Okay, the ultimate reason we want to segregate it is because our BQ form is will be formed to different, for example, corner lot, intermediate lot, and end lot, right? As I keep on emphasizing this one. So for us to tackle the outcome, okay, we need to have some necessary amendment when using the modeling. Okay, when we do the modeling, right? Okay, so from here, okay, so from here, later on, I'm going to go into the operation part. Okay, so with this, perhaps we take maybe a 15 minutes breaks. Okay, because for today's session, it will be kind of the mini courses. It will be on the small similar part. Okay, I believe every one of you is actually have a basic certificates, right? You already know on our basic operations, right? Okay, so we are going to have perhaps a 15 minutes breaks. So later on, when we coming back, I'm going to talk focusing heavily on all these operations. Okay, what are the things that we actually can do, right? Okay, maybe we go back at 10:20. Okay, when we come back.